Hey there, and welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam Hind, and today I'm joined by a very special guest who is walking the walk right there alongside of you. I'm going to be chatting with the gorgeous Krissy Kelly from LeRêve today. Krissy has been building a business for nearly 20 years. Now, you're going to find this as hard to believe as I did when we jumped on into this interview. I reckon she must have started the business when she was all but 5. But the beautiful Krissy is going to talk to us about her business journey, how she's got to where she's at, some of the challenges she's experienced along the way with social media, etc., what works and what doesn't work. And we're going to hear from her about how she runs her business. So jump on in, be a fly on the wall, listen into the conversation. I really enjoyed having this chat with Krissy. She's an absolutely gorgeous soul, and I look forward to sharing this interview with you. So let's dive on in and listen away. Hey there, everybody, and welcome back in to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I am joined by the gorgeous Krissy Kelly today. Hey, Krissy, how you going?
Hey, Sam. Thank you so much for asking me. Such an honor.
Oh, look, you know what? I'm so excited about this conversation. We've just been sitting here chatting for the last half hour or so just to get ready and work out what we were going to cover off on. And I feel like we've just talked about all this great stuff, and I kept going, stop. We've got to talk about this all our lives. So I've got to try and remember all of the great little conversations we were just having, because I think there's so much gold in some of this stuff that you're going to share today with a lot of our listeners. Now, I just want to kind of preface this podcast episode for everybody, because the reason I wanted to pull you in here is because I really wanted to, I've been obviously had the opportunity to get to know you over the last, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years now. I can't remember when I spoke at your LeRêve conference. It must be around
3 or 4 years ago now, I reckon. Yeah.
Time flies.
It does. We lost a year there.
What was that?
You lost last year, so.
We did. We lost last year. Last year doesn't count. But the great thing is that I've had the pleasure of being able to watch you in your business and getting to know you. And, you know, obviously you've jumped into some of our courses. And so we've had the chance to get to know you a little bit over the last few years, along with some of the other LeRêve family. But I've also been observing your adapting of your business over the last little while. And I know that hasn't always been easy. I know you've had challenges and you've had successes. And I really wanted to hear from you about what has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? What have you learned? What do you do now? What do you prioritize? Because rather than me telling everyone, you know, how social media works and what works and what doesn't, some of the things that you're doing at the moment, I think, are absolute gold. And I really want to talk about that and share some of, I want you to share them with everybody so they can hear from you about what's going on in your world. But before we do all of that, I want to hear a little bit about Krissy Kelly. And you just dropped a bomb on me a few minutes ago that I didn't know. And I'm blown away because you must have started in this business when you were like 3.
Yeah, no, I was 20.
So how long have you been with LeRêve for? Tell us a little bit about, you know, when you started, why you started, because I'm still blown away.
So yeah, I'm coming up to 20 years in LeRêve in August. Yeah, so half my life almost.
Wow.
Just turned 40. And I went to, it was actually my first in-home party I'd ever attended. So hadn't been to any other direct selling at all.
Yep.
And went to this perfume party. I was working in a pharmacy at the time, and I thought, oh, it's all going to be all dodgy imitation perfumes. I'm not really interested, but I'll go for the catch up with my friends.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed with their amazing perfume at the time. That was all I'd seen. We obviously have other ranges too now, but yeah, I was so blown away by the quality. And the lady, you know, saying, I'm heading off to Hawaii next month on a trip, all expenses paid. And I'm like, really? This is a real job? You can actually make real money and go on holidays? Tell me more. And she had a little sign up on her party thing saying earn full-time money in part-time hours, and she chatted about that and how she was doing that, and it really got my attention. And I remember going up to her at the end of the party and going, you think I could do this? Because I was, you know, quite young and had no real experience in anything like this and wasn't very confident. And she was like, absolutely, and yeah, I joined the next day. So
and here you are,
yeah, I'm still
nearly
here,
20 years later. I think we
Yeah.
should just put out there perhaps that 20 years must be gold watch or something like that if Kimball's listening.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so. Diamond ring, I don't know.
That'd be nice.
Let's see. We'll just put that one out there and let that one dangle for a little while. So I'm going to get a really nasty email from him tomorrow. What are you saying to my people? So let's talk a little bit about your world, because you balance your business. You've got 2 beautiful kids. So tell us a little bit about how your business works into your world.
Yeah, so obviously when I started, I was young, single, a partner, but yeah, and LeRêve was sort of my extra money on the side to save for a house and all of those sort of things. And it delivered so much so quickly. Actually, within a few months, I was able to leave my job that I was hating at the pharmacy. I'd actually applied to do another course, and anyway, LeRêve just took off, and everything else just went to the side. And I never expected, that I'd make a career out of this. So then I had my son, who's now 11.
Wow.
And things slowed down a little bit, in my business, as they do when you have a baby. And then I had, 3 years later, I had my daughter, Sienna, who's 8. And, I've still been able to work around them, though, which has been amazing. And my business has still been, an amazing income and lifestyle for our family, like, overseas trips, all of those wonderful things that, so blessed. Last year, my business really boomed with online. I had been doing, thanks to many of the helpful things I've learned from you over the last few years as well, had been having success with online parties. But when last year hit and we went into fully online, my business exploded and doubled, and it was amazing.
And we're going to talk a bit more about that shortly, because there are some things that you've done in that space to ensure that you stay ahead of the momentum and what's going on. But have you found that there has been a further shift since last year, further change in your business and the way that you operate? Because last year was one very extreme way of having to move.
It was.
Has it moved again?
Yes. And we got so used to, we kind of got in our comfort zone, a lot of us last year. Like, first of all, it was a shock, but then, once we got in our comfort zone of working from home behind a screen, we got kind of used to that. And I was actually a little bit apprehensive, even myself, going back to in-home parties when I'd been doing them for so many years. I don't know why, but I guess you get in your comfort zone, don't you? And what I found was pretty much from January onwards, so many people just wanted the face-to-face thing again. Like, a lot of people said to me, no, we're over screens. We want to, we want to smell, we want to touch the products, we want to get together with our friends. So, but I'm having a mixture now, which is really nice. And I think it's just been helping, people in my team that even a lot of people that joined during last year and only have experienced the online side of the business, trying to help them now, have a multi-dimensional business now, because we've got the best of both worlds. And, personally, I love doing my online parties during the week, being a mum, because I can do them at night when my kids are in bed or about to go to bed. And on the weekend, I can go out and have, a social catch up, which is so much fun.
Yeah, it kind of is the new hybrid, isn't it?
It's
and I love that you explain it that way. It's like you get the best of both. And one of the cool things about that, I imagine, and this is where I get a little bit jealous that I'm not still in the business, because I actually started my first ever party plan business at 14. And so I used to love partying, in-home parties. But the thing was, you could only do so many of them. And, I was a student at the time. You'd want to hope I was a student at 14. So I was a student at the time, which meant, of course, that, I was only able to do them really on Friday nights or Saturdays, maybe a Sunday. And that then really narrowed down the growth potential of my business. But now we're at a point where you can do that. And then you can do multiple online parties through the week, or you could do an in-home party on Saturday and an online party Saturday afternoon, or vice versa, which opens up the scope.
Absolutely. And even with the in-home ones, I obviously set up a Facebook group for those parties as well, and they can invite people from further away to still be part of it, even if they can't be there.
This was my next question for you.
Yeah.
How have you adapted? Have you brought in, and you've just answered it before I asked it, but have you brought in parties where, you can do both? You can do virtual and in home at the same time. So I've spoken to a few people that have been doing this. I've watched a few people doing this, and what an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, so I haven't live streamed from an in-home party but I could. That's another option, as I could set up to do that. However, I tend to just do my in-home and then post on the
group. So post in the group
with all the links, so people can still order and shop and
love it. Okay, so it's less like it's not a live stream. It's more of a, here's an opportunity for people to get involved even if they're not there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's kind of the same concept, I guess, as giving the catalogue to people with the old way of doing things, with the old way, the in-home parties, giving the catalogue to people that can't make it so they can go through it and give their order even though they can't be there. But we're doing it in an online setting.
Yeah, and I still, schedule in posts on, the party groups either way, whether they're an online or an in-home party. So it creates that desire before the parties even happened. So yeah, it's great.
Love it. So one thing that I'm curious about, I mean, you started the business 20 years ago. So when you were 5, we've established that. So when you started the business and you grew it then, how has it changed? Because I don't think we think about this very often, but how has it changed? How have you had to adapt to growing your business from there to where we are now?
Oh, it's changed a lot. Obviously, technology has changed so much. Everything used to be handwritten, everything. Yeah, it's obviously a lot better with all the technology now, having, online ordering.
Yeah. So what did you used to do back then? What was your sort of go-to to grow your business when you first started?
It still is a people business. It's a relationship business, and it still is to this day. I think it's so important to make connections with people, whether you're face-to-face with them or online. So it hasn't really changed. The
method of making the connection has shifted, but it's still about the connection first and foremost. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, I'd also love to know, how much time do you spend in your business at the moment? Because you're sort of saying that you've worked it around your kids. So when it comes to particularly social media, et cetera, what does your week look like?
So I tend to have most of my mornings off, so I can, which I love about this industry, that we can choose our hours. And, if ever I think this isn't working, I think, no, I'm changing it again. And, it's so important to have that balance. And, I don't know, I'm sure you've probably done the course of the 7 habits before, Sam, have you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the whole sharpening the saw. You've got to look after yourself, especially as a mum. And a businesswoman, trying to do it all, you've got to have time to yourself as well. So I tend to, block time each week, plan it, but my mornings are usually my time so I can exercise, do things that I want to do for me. And then in the afternoons before school pickup, I'll do coaching calls and things with my team and customer calls. I have them booked in usually, and some blocks of time where I can do some social media or customer follow up. And then, I'll usually do a couple of parties during the week on a weeknight, mainly online ones, but I'm starting to get more of the in-home ones now, which is fun. And then, another one on the weekend. So I stick to a bit of a formula of, holding 3 parties a week. So it's not crazy. I've done it before. I've done too much and overwhelmed myself, and, having that consistency but balance. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So you tend to stick at the moment to doing maybe 3 parties a week. That's a combination of in-home and virtual parties?
Yep.
And do you dictate what they are, or you pretty much just go, hey, whatever everyone wants to do, I'll do 3 of whatever? Or do you sort of say, hey, I'm going to do 1 in-home and 2 virtuals this week? How do you work that?
So like I said, I've tried to do the virtuals on weeknights. So I do sort of have specific nights. I do them on around the family, and I try to have a night off in between anything that I have, because sometimes I run a training night as well with my team. So, there might be 3 nights of a week that I'm actually doing something for my business, and the other 4 nights are family or, husband nights. Or you've got to make those.
You've got to have them sometimes.
You've got to book that in. That's important. It is. And LeRêve's taught me that to fit all that in, because you don't have to be a workaholic and, work your business all the time, because, especially if you want to be a model for the people in your business don't want to see you working 24/7
around the clock. Yeah, it's not attractive.
Why would you want to be in this wonderful industry? Like, that's what I love about it. You choose where you work. So I do try to encourage the people that want to book in-home ones to book a Saturday afternoon, because that suits me.
So I'm really interested to hear a little bit more about your social media journey. Now, I know that you've obviously gone through a lot of adjustment over the last, well, I'm going to say that you're a pivoter, you're an adapter, which is why after 20 years, you're still growing an amazing business. But tell me a little bit about your social media strategy. Now, I know we talked about this before and you were like, oh, I have a home truth here. So let's just get it out there and talk it through, because I actually, well, I'm going to let you talk about it first and then we'll go with what I was going to say.
So I have a business page, which I've had for years, and probably a couple of years ago I set up my VIP group.
Yeah.
So I use both, but I tend to work a lot more in my VIP group because, I've got so many great connections in there and I tend to get a lot more engagement. I know I need to work more on the actual business page side of things. And I'll admit to everybody, I only use Facebook. I don't use Instagram or any others. I only use Facebook. And I don't plan and schedule my posts very often in my groups and on my page either. I tend to be a bit of a, what do I feel like today, putting in my group? And I love the training I've received from you, Sam, is make it fun and not just always about the products or about joining or about, I do fun things in there and little funny things and just even finding out more about them, like what do you prefer and all of those lovely things, and just, uplifting things. I like my VIP group and that to be something that uplifts women.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed, because I've been inside of I've done a couple of your parties, I've been inside of your groups. One of the things I really notice about the way you interact in them is that you put your posts out there, but you're often asking a lot of really fun and interactive questions. And when people respond, you are brilliant at getting in and further interacting with people. So you turn it into these great little conversations where, you don't kind of post and run and, everyone responds and you're not doing anything. You're in there, having some fun with people. And I love watching your posts because they're exactly that. Like, fun is the perfect way to describe them. But something else I really notice about the posts that you do, particularly on your business page, possibly occasionally personal profile, and we'll talk about that in a moment, is I don't feel when I see your posts that I'm being promoted to, but I feel like I'm seeing a bit of the behind the scenes and what's going on in your world, in your business. And you are very raw and real about the stuff that you put out there. Not irrelevant, but raw and real about it. Is that a deliberate thing or is that just something that's kind of evolved?
No, yeah, that's a deliberate thing. It's being really relatable and probably because my ideal customer is a mum, someone that, can benefit from all the things that I love and use. Yeah, I probably just post real things about things that have benefited me and my family. So I just want to share them with them.
So I love that because you did, we were talking about your target customer earlier. So tell us a little bit more about your target customer. You've identified it's a mum and a woman, but you also, we're sort of talking a bit about their interests, et cetera. And tell us a bit about who you are actually working with, what you know about them.
Yeah, so I probably need to work on this a little bit more too, Sam. Probably people that care about health and well-being, people that care about Aussie-made products, high-quality products, things that make them feel great. That's what I love about our products is they're feel-good products. They make you feel beautiful.
And I notice you tap in a lot to this when you're doing your virtual parties, your posts and all of that sort of stuff. I do want to come back to a question I had before actually about virtual parties. When you're doing your virtual parties, I know particularly with anyone who's in the beauty products, anything that is around fragrance and smell, et cetera, really have struggled, I think, mentally with the process of doing a virtual party or event because how do I describe to people how it smells? How do you get around that? Because I know you've become a bit of a master at it, but can you tell me a little, because I'm sure that's probably a question at one point you asked yourself.
Yeah, it's just being really descriptive, like picking up a product and going, oh my gosh, this smells like you could eat it. It smells like blueberries and vanilla, and like just describing it to them and just making your mouth water. Or this oil smells like you're walking through the bush. It smells like, eucalyptus, blue gum and tea tree and all those beautiful, fresh Aussie bush smells. You've got to be really descriptive and passionate about the scent. And, I think I thought it would be really hard to sell our products online when someone suggested that to me a few years ago doing the virtual ones. And I thought, no, I don't want to buy these without smelling them, but they do.
In fact, I think you sold me a perfume through virtual party just by talking about it. And you were brilliant at painting a picture, but the funny thing is it doesn't really take a master to do that, does it? It's kind of just imagine where it takes you and just talk about what that looks like.
Yeah. Especially with, I think most direct selling companies have a bit of a money back guarantee type system. And I think mentioning that to the customers too, then they think, well, I'll give it a shot. And if it doesn't, suit me, I can always exchange or refund. So it's really surprised me at how well it's gone with online sales. Yeah.
I love it. Now, you mentioned before, you were saying, I don't do Instagram. You sort of steered away from that a little bit. I want to talk a bit about that for a moment, because this is actually real positive. And this is something that we get people asking us about a lot, because they assume that because Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and all of those things have got value in various different places, that they have to do it all. Now, I was really excited when you said to me, I don't do Instagram, I just do Facebook. And the reason I was excited was because you were really clear about where your customer was and how you could serve them and how you could connect with them. But I know that one of the things that we tend to do a lot of is social media tends to catch up on our lives a lot. It really gets in the way. So how do you manage your business on social media without it overtaking your work life, your personal life, all of those things?
Yeah, it definitely got a bit consuming last year. Obviously, especially in Victoria, we were locked down for quite a while, and I actually listened to one of your podcasts. We were talking about it before, because I said just how I remember messaging you after listening to it, because, it brought me to tears. It was just exactly what I needed to hear at the time. And it was all about parenting. And what was it called, Sam?
I think it was balancing being a mum and being in the direct selling industry. And it was really funny, because I did tell you, I remember getting that message from you. I was like, wow, I did the right thing here, because that was actually one of the very few podcast episodes that I recorded and then went, I don't think I can release this, because it was so close to home, and it was so left of center, and it sort of was around Facebook, but not really. I sent it to our editing team and I said, guys, just listen to this and tell me what you think. And I'm really okay if you delete it and we don't release it. I'll leave it in your hands. And I got a message back from one of them straight away. She said it brought me to tears. And then when they released it, I got, it was the most popular episode that we did last year, because I guess it was right at that time where everyone was feeling that social media overwhelm and going, how do I balance this out? But you were saying there was one particular thing in there.
One particular tip was to have, boundaries with my phone. So turning it off at a certain time of night and plugging it into, I have an office. So luckily, it goes in that other room now. It doesn't get plugged in my bedroom. So no more phone straight away when I wake up in the morning, not until after getting kids sorted and breakfast and stuff. So, yeah, it was so good having that just reminder to switch off, because otherwise it does, our phones are pinging, and, you've got to have that time where you can put it on silent or put it away and not feel like you have to be constantly answering every message as it comes through, or I
and
took the pressure off myself a lot too. Like, I actually even started saying on my parties, I'll get back to you in the next couple of days. So it didn't feel like I had to get back to everybody straight away. If you don't hear from me tomorrow, you'll hear from me the next day, so I started really putting those boundaries in there so people didn't have expectations of me to be on my phone
immediately. And that's
much.
really good. Building that expectation is really huge, when you are doing your parties, etc. And actually, that's a really good segue into what I wanted to talk to you about next. You also said something to me before where we were talking about business pages, groups, personal profiles, and you sort of went, oh, I do use my personal profile a little bit. And you said, I know you're not going to like this, Sam, but actually I questioned you a little bit about what you were doing, and I actually love what you were doing. And so I want to talk a bit about that, because I think it's really powerful. But one of the things, so you and I got to talk a little bit about your virtual parties last year. We did a bit of training together in that space. But when it came to reaching out to people, tell me a little bit about how you use your personal profile. We'll hear it from your words first, and then we'll dive in a bit deeper.
Yeah, so I was saying to Sam earlier that, I'm happy to send friend requests to customers online. I was saying I don't ever air any dirty laundry on Facebook. So it's a place for friends and family, but it's also a relationship, connections. And I don't mind if my customers see that. I know a lot of people prefer to be completely private with that, but what I do is I send friend requests to people who I've connected with on parties. So I don't just randomly send them to everyone. But when I've done a party, and I do give away quite a few prizes on my parties, give free shipping and a whole lot of participation things. And so I do say on my parties that everybody who's won a prize is going to get a friend request from me, so I can converse with you in Messenger. You don't have to, you can delete me later if you don't want to keep a friend request. I make a little joke of that. But it's just so we can chat on Messenger. So then that's been great, because as soon as I get off my party, I friend request all the people who I've participated with. And because they felt like they've connected with me, they usually accept it straight away. Most of them, maybe half, but, like not every single one, but a lot will accept it. And then we can message, and that's how we connect. And then obviously from there, once I've, maybe spoken with them or, had a transaction of some sort with them, then I'll invite them to join my VIP group. So it's sort of step by step. It's not,
It's not bang, I'm going to hound you. So
No.
I really love that, because there's a bit of a process that you've put into play there. The first thing that you do, which is actually something we talked about a little while ago, is that you use prizes. Now, you don't always use product, you also sometimes use other things. So what are some of the things that you use as prizes to kind of, it's dangling the carrot really, isn't it?
I've found that just doing free shipping, which costs me $6.90, so it's not a huge amount, and $10 vouchers. So I don't put any limit on how much they have to spend or anything like that. But I find, it's so worthwhile, because it might get a new customer in, and once they fall in love with the product and keep that connection with it, they're usually an ongoing customer. So I really find giving away quite a few prizes. Like if I've got, say 10 people watching me on a live party on Facebook Live, all 10 of them pretty much get a prize. And then sometimes all the other people who've RSVP'd on that event, on that group too, will go in a draw.
Now, I know not everyone has the ability to do prizes, but there's always a way to get creative in that space, because some people listening right now, it's against company policy to give away product. But sometimes there might be something that you can do. I know that in your case, you're doing it at your own expense. You're doing it to encourage people to spend a little bit more. But I'd encourage you to think as well, for everyone listening, how you can get a little bit creative in that space. Because the reason that you're doing prizes, Krissy, is more because it's allowing you to open the conversation. Because I remember when I jumped onto your party when we were doing all of our millions of virtual parties last year to record that training. One of the things that you did, and I asked you to treat me like any normal customer, you reached out and you said, you sent me a friend request and you sent me a message and you said, I just touching base to see how you'd like to spend your voucher or your free shipping. And so it was a really great way to open that conversation without it being a hound. And I could have easily come back to you and said, oh, I don't think I'll use it. But I also felt like, I don't want to waste it. Like I've got a $10 voucher, or I've got a $5 voucher, I've got free shipping. The shopper in me just went, no wasted opportunities here. And so I just want to talk a little bit about how you, I guess, pre-warn people or preface that whole messaging process. Because one of the things that I'm really dead against is people using their personal profile to abuse their connections, networks, friendships, families, etc., to grow their business. And I don't see that that's what you're doing here. In fact, what I think you're doing is really, really clever, because you're jumping into virtual parties and events or in-person parties and events, and you're saying to people, hey, this is what's going to happen next. And that's what you follow through with and do. And you give them an easy out, which is, hey, you can unfriend me, or they simply don't accept the request. But if they do, they know that you're going to send them a little private message just to follow up with them. Now, in that process, what do you do next? Do you send them a message? Do you go straight into the what would you like to buy?
Oh, it's more, a little bit softer than that. probably more.
I am not, because I'm just telling you right now, a lot of people do go straight into the, hey, what would you like to buy?
No, it's usually, hey, Sam, thank you so much for your participation on Kylie's party. You won free shipping. Congratulations. And then, I'll pop the catalogue links, and I have a Google order form link. So I just pop all that. Then they've got all the resources all at their fingertips. And most people will write back, thank you. And then, I'll sort of try to keep the conversation going by, shout out if is there anything I can help, with any questions. But usually they'll get a little bit of a chat happening. And it is easier to follow up when they've won a prize. So if you haven't heard from them, you can say, hey, Sam, just double checking before I finalise Kylie's party. Did you want to use that $10 you won or that free shipping?
Yeah.
And a lot of people go, oh, thanks for reminding me.
The
majority do use it when they win a prize. They really do. So, yeah, it was you that said, why wouldn't you give free shipping to everybody who participates? And I'm like, oh, you almost could. You won the participation prize, and you could send it to as many as you wanted, and everyone loves a freebie.
Yeah, free stuff. Yeah. Happy days. So just coming back to your social media for a moment, what do you find for you when it comes to your business page or even your group, etc.? What sort of content do you find works really well for you?
Definitely if I do my own photos. That was a great tip I got from you too, because I used to just share.
It sounds like I didn't wear she mentioned this and this. No.
I've been on quite a few of Sam's webinars and podcasts, so I've learned a lot. But yeah, definitely I have learned that sharing just company images or direct from the company ones, it doesn't get as much interaction. Whereas if I post a picture I've taken, and especially if I ask a question with it, yeah, that always works so much better.
Yeah. So you've just sort of answered the next question, which was what doesn't work for you? What do you find typically doesn't work? Where have the sticking points been for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something else. That's probably sharing company things, and that doesn't work as well because it's not original, whereas if you take a photo of something yourself, especially if you can make it a bit funny or a bit fun, a bit relatable, that'll get the conversation.
On that note, I mean, you're taking photos with your own phone. Do you have any tips or tricks you can give people about how to get a good photo on their phone if they're wanting to take their own photos and they don't really know how and they're thinking, oh, it never looks any good? What do you do? How do you get nice photos on your phone?
Thank goodness for like the what's it called, portrait mode
on my phone. I know, I'm a massive fan.
Love portrait mode, makes me look like a photographer. And just even some of the little effects I use, even just on editing on a photo that you click edit and you can do the little sparkle effects around a photo, or I do occasionally use Canva and those apps that you've recommended to jazz things up a little bit, but usually just portrait mode or
I love that. That's so good because these are things that people have got at their fingertips that I feel like they often don't touch. Things like editing, hit on edit and see what's there and get in and have a bit of a play. And something else as well that a lot of you guys might not know, but if you're using portrait mode on your phone, when you upload it to Facebook, it'll ask you if you want to make this photo 3D, which makes it move through as people are scrolling past. It really grabs their attention on the photo, which is really cool little feature.
Yes, I must use 3D more often. That is a good one. It definitely catches my attention.
Yeah. It's like the whole thing just kind of moves as you go through, which is all a bit of fun.
Yeah.
So, Krissy, just in wrapping up, I'd love to hear from you one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who was brand new and starting in the direct selling business. So someone that was sort of wanting to give this industry a go, or they're right at the beginning of their journey and they're not quite sure how to start or what to do next. What's one piece of advice you could give them?
Oh, I can think of two.
Give us two. Two's good.
Be yourself. Just be yourself. Don't feel like you have to be exactly like someone else who is successful in your business. Be you and be authentic. And the other one is do find a mentor, though, someone who inspires you. They don't necessarily have to be in your direct selling business. They might be in another direct selling business, but find someone that inspires you, that you can, they can help be a little bit like a coach or a mentor to you as well. And I love that about our industry is that so many women in this business just want to help each other. And men, sorry, men, I tend to work mainly with women, sorry. But, you know, we all want to see each other succeed and help each other out. And I love it when other people from other direct selling come to me and say, oh, do you mind if I, you know, use this idea, or can you give me a couple of tips? Like, it makes me feel great knowing that I'm helping them as well. Yeah. And, you know, we all want each other to be successful in this wonderful industry.
And it's awesome. It is such an amazing industry in that way, isn't it? It's very community oriented. And the one thing you've just brought up, I think that's really important too with each of your businesses, whatever company you're with, one of the amazing things is that you've been able to enter a business where essentially you don't have all of the same responsibilities you would have if you were starting a traditional business on your own, because the company does a lot of that hard work for you. You know, a lot of the marketing, a lot of the, you know, the product creation, the promotional creation, the catalogs, all of that stuff. And then there's the training. So one of the things that I know you lean a lot into, Krissy, which is definitely, I think, attributed a lot to your growth and the amazing things I'm seeing you achieve, is that when there's training opportunities, you lean into them. And you guys have all got amazing companies where they're supporting you. They want to bring out the best in you and they want to help you. So yeah, I'd say take a big leaf out of Krissy's book and do lots of learning, because how much time a week would you spend on your own growth?
Every week's kind of different, but yeah, definitely any personal development as well. I love reading personal development books or doing courses, or all of that is so helpful, because it is, you know, it is all a mental game as well, isn't it? You know, and you know, keeping your own self topped up. You can't pour from an empty cup. So yeah, but also I'm always open to learning from new people in the business. Like, I don't know it all. Doesn't matter how long I've been in it. Someone else can come in and just give fresh ideas all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, you never stop learning.
Yeah. I did a little interview with someone a while ago who said, no matter what you do, never forget what it was like to begin.
Yeah.
Because you're always adapting and restarting. I love that so much, because it was such a good reminder that when you first start, you learn everything fresh for the first time and you get in and give it all a crack. But sometimes you become kind of this hard nut and you forget about all those things that you had to do in the very beginning to grow your business. Sometimes coming back to that, super duper powerful.
Absolutely. And you want to be duplicatable, like for people to go, I could do that. Like, you don't want to make it look too polished. So yeah, it's okay to make stuff up and, you know, just have fun with it.
And you were mentioning earlier the podcast episode, Krissy, that you listened to, that we recorded back in the middle of COVID, which was about balancing business and being a parent. I'll pop the link to that in the show notes. But you also mentioned, I think it was the 7 habits of highly effective people. Is that what you were talking about earlier on?
Yeah, I love that course.
Yeah. So I'm going to chuck that in the show notes too. So if anyone wants to check that out, they can. That's actually, I've read the book, not done the course. So you've obviously done the course. I'll pop the links down there for people if they want to check that out. But yeah, some really powerful stuff in there as well. But thank you so much for joining us today. Now, before we wrap up, what's your favorite LeRêve product? Do tell.
Oh my gosh, how do I pick one?
You have to. I'm forcing you. You can only have one LeRêve product for the rest of your life. What is it?
Oh my gosh, I really don't know, Sam. That's
I didn't
so
prepare
hard.
her for this question. This is the toughest question of the day. One LeRêve product. That's it.
That's so hard. I don't think I could live without my anti-aging skincare now. My super age-reducing super serum. Now that I'm 40, I need that in my life.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Krissy, for joining us. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you, and I've absolutely loved watching your journey. So I really appreciate you sharing some insights into your business and your journey and your whys and your passions with everybody today. So yeah, really appreciate you. Thank you for coming along.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate you too, and everything you've taught me and helped me through, especially last year. So good. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Well, thanks again for joining us, Krissy. We'll see all of you guys again on the podcast for next week. But for now, look after yourselves. God bless, and we'll see you again next time.